Oh my goodness. Hello. I'm giddy. I can't stop laughing. I absolutely can't stop laughing because this is the intro episode to my very own podcast. I can't believe it. I absolutely can't believe it. I'm absolutely thrilled. Where are we at? The date is the 7th of January 2023. The time is currently 20 past 11. My neighbours across the hall are having a party. Still up from last night, if you can believe it. Oh God, it's just my luck. And one of them must have got one of them fucking Bluetooth microphones for Christmas, because I swear to God they're all crowing out them. Fucking Greatest Showman and Lou Vega, the lot, and I can hear them from my bedroom. And then upstairs, I don't know what they're doing. They're having a game of musical chairs or something like that, because wow, I feel like they're gonna come in on top of me. So I really hope that you can't hear any of that in the background, and I really hope that all you can hear is me, because I don't think I'll have a second go at this. I don't want this to be a mad, perfectly polished, edited podcast, because that's just not me, let's be honest. It's going to be raw. I haven't a clue what I'm doing. Like, not a notion. I'm currently recording this on a microphone that I got on Amazon for fairly cheap. It's not polished. It's not perfect. But listen, who is polished? Who is perfect? And I nearly have to put myself in a straitjacket to stop myself from fidgeting, because when I talk, I have to have something in my hand. I've got all the pens away from my near reach, because otherwise I'll just start flicking them, and that's all you hear in the background of the podcast. Oh God. So what are we doing? Where are we at? I would talk the hind legs off a donkey. So when it came to deciding whether or not a podcast would be a good thing, I just thought, let it be an outlet. I love podcasts for a change in perspective, or even just hearing another person's perspective on something that you never would have otherwise heard. So when I thought about whether or not a podcast was going to be a good thing for me to do, I just thought, one, it's going to be a bit of crack, and two, it's just good to hear other people's thoughts on things that you think about all the time, I think. And what do we do all the time? Dress ourselves. We get dressed every day of the week. Sometimes it's just in joggers, socks and sliders. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that's a favourite of mine. And sometimes we're getting dolled up to the nines because, we're going out on the weekend, or we have a big event, we're going to a wedding. And I think for something that requires so much thought from us, we probably rarely talk about it on a wider scale. And when I went out looking for podcasts that, talk about this on I was going to say normal person level, but on your everyday gal level, there wasn't really any podcasts that relate to the everyday girl that's going out shopping for themselves to go out on the weekend, or just shopping for clothes to wear to the office, or whatever the case is. It was all your big names, your Vogues, your Chanels, and your designer brands that had their podcast out there, which is great. It doesn't relate to me though, and I don't think it relates to a lot of people that I know or that follow me on Instagram. So yeah, I said, if there's not one out there already, let me fucking make it. Let me go and make it. So that's what we're really going to be talking about. It's going to be so chilled and laid back. I wanted to be funny. I wanted to be humorous, do you know what I mean? I'm not putting any pressure on myself whatsoever now, am I? I put so much pressure on myself to be funny. And if I'm not, people are going to be like, okay, Amy. Oh God. And I have to slow myself down, because I talk at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's I can't get the thoughts in my brain out quick enough. Now at this moment in time, I had a couple of things written down on my phone in notes, and do you think I've gone off them? Oh God. Right, so I think I've went on rambling for long enough, haven't I? And nervously laughing. That'll go away, I promise. Just bear with me. I'll get all the nervous laughs out. I'll give a little bit of an introduction to myself, because I would imagine if you're listening to the podcast from straight off the bat, you know who I am. But there might be people that don't, and you mightn't know everything about me. I'm sure I don't even know everything about me, for fuck's sake. But I'll just give you a little bit of an intro to me anyway. From the time I was a child, I was obsessed with clothes. Now, when I say obsessed, I mean obsessed. I reckon that an outfit that my mum and dad put me in when I was a child set this off, because this outfit, you've never seen anything like it in your life, was like a red long coat with these black embroidered buttons, you know, the ones that went from like one side of the coat to the other and like hooked around. I don't know if I'm explaining that well, right? But anyway, it was absolutely stunning. And it had this matching hat with like now I don't even know if I'm remembering this right? And I'm definitely fantasizing the whole thing in my mind. But this red hat matched the coat, and it had like the black trim to match the black buttons, and like, wow, it was a Christmas Day outfit, of course. And I just remember being obsessed with it, and I was only a child, but I don't know if it was the outfit itself or the reaction that I got off people when I was wearing the outfit. Like, I would say everyone was doting over me, do you know, in this outfit, like, and being like, oh, look at her, she looks gorgeous. And that's definitely what I loved about it. Like, from the time I was a child, I just loved attention. I loved everybody looking at me. I loved everybody like commenting on me. I don't know why. Absolutely loved it. Like, but I reckon that definitely unlocked certain parts in my brain that I was just like, yeah, I need that. I need to get into clothes. I need to sink my teeth into that. And then when I left school, I pretty much landed on my feet. I got into River Island as just your average retail assistant. But of course, being in a place like River Island, where you have opportunity then to get into like the visual merchandising and stuff like that, I took every opportunity that came up to do things like that, because I was just, as I said, obsessed with it. And yeah, it's definitely just spurred on more and more desire and need and love for clothes and putting things together, and just like being that creative side of my brain was just unlocked. Like, time meant nothing when I was putting one of the walls together in River Island, do you know what I mean? Like, when we'd get our new delivery in and all the new lines and everything, and I'd have to put them out, my whole shift would be gone, and I'd nearly be raging, like, be like, I'm not finished, do you know what I mean? Staying later, not even getting paid and all, just because I hadn't got it done. What a loser. But yeah, I absolutely loved that. The first, no, I have to say, skill, not for me. Like, I'm not into sitting in a classroom listening to somebody talk. I have a very low attention span for that type of thing. You know, we used to just fall asleep in class the whole time. All of me parent-teacher meetings was just me teachers telling me that I sleep in the classes all the time, like 24/7, that they'd be concerned that I wasn't sleeping at home. But I'd be having a full night's sleep. I just can't be arsed listening to what people are saying in classes. Like, so yeah, when I left then and went to college, I took that same mindset to college as well. It was just a thing to do though. But like, when I say college, I didn't do a degree or anything like that. Like, I knew I couldn't commit to a 4-year degree, and I couldn't pick a topic. I didn't know what I wanted to study. So I studied makeup artistry for a year, and then I went on to do fashion, styling, buying and merchandising. I use the term course lightly because it wasn't even that. It was a year long, but like, when I say the most badly run course you've ever seen in your life, Like sometimes the tutors didn't even show up. You know what I mean? So how do they expect the students to show up? So I would say I went for about half of the lessons that they actually had on. But the ones that I did go to I'd be selective of which ones I was going to. Do you know what I mean? I'd go to the styling ones because I just absolutely loved that, and because it was so hands-on. It wasn't sitting there listening to theory and like, how do you listen to theory on styling? You know what I mean? It would be very hands-on. We'd be all bringing stuff in. We'd have little projects that we'd be working on, and I absolutely loved that. I loved that element of it. Then after I left college and left River Island, there was a time where I wasn't involved in fashion that much, and it was always kind of like how do you go about doing it? Do you know what I mean? And like most people then in the pandemic, I was like, the fuck am I gonna do with myself? I'm bored as fuck sitting at home here. I had started a travel blog before that, because our plan was we were going to be leaving the country in, was it July of 2020? I think it was July of 2020. And we were going to be going travelling around the world. We had our plan made out. We had it all mapped out where we were going to go and when. And so I started this travel blog because we had done a bit of travelling before, and because we were going to be doing more travelling, I could write about it along the way, and it'd be something for me to do. Because anybody that knows me knows I need something to do. So that was the plan. Of course, the pandemic comes along and travel plans out the window, and I was like, what am I going to do with myself? So I had to pivot, and I was like, what else do I love just as much, if not more, than travelling? And of course it was fashion and styling and putting clothes together. But I was looking at what people were doing on Instagram, say, and, you know, doing videos and buying loads of clothes, doing hauls and stuff like that. And I was like, I just, don't have the desire to own that many clothes. Funnily enough, considering I love clothes so much, I don't want 2, 3, 4 wardrobes full of clothes. I just don't. And two, who has the money? I don't understand who has the money to be going out doing Zara hauls every week. I did not have that much money to put aside to be doing that. So I just started doing little inspo pics. And if you follow me on Array by Amy, you know what I'm talking about. Just putting little outfits together virtually and putting that out there. And I just love it. I absolutely love doing that. Putting that inspo out there, hearing what people are doing, and, you know, getting messages from people being like, how would you style these? And even going so far as hearing things like people saying that the inspo helped them so much and that they loved the outfit, and that brings me a level of joy that I'll never be able to explain, and that I never even thought I would even have. Do you know what I mean? I'd never thought that I'd be in a position to be able to do that for people. So it's safe to say that I'm absolutely obsessed with it. So the way I look at this now, the podcast, is an extension of that. So taking that one step further and just being able to have a chat with people, because what I really want for this is for it not to be just a one-way conversation. I want this podcast to be very much influenced by the people that listen to it. So I'm going to be asking you for topics that you want me to talk about. I'm going to be asking you to send me in, you know, your woes and things that I'm yet to come up for a name, and come up with a name for that. Jesus, the first tongue twister. There'll be many of them, I tell you. And yeah, I'll be asking you for your input on what you want to hear, and I'm going to have guests on the podcast. So I'm going to ask you who you want me to have on, and get your input and all of that. So it's very much going to be a two-way conversation like that. And I want to just open it out. That kind of brings me on to the next point, which is Fab Hun, the name. And I just feel like Fab Hun encapsulates exactly what I want. Is that how you say that word? Encapsulates? I don't know. Anyway, you know what I mean. And I feel like it encapsulates what I want the podcast to be. Like, you know, when you just bump into girls, it's usually on a night out, isn't it? Let's be honest, in the girls' toilets, or like, you know, just out and about. And you're like, oh my God, you look Fab Hun. And you just all get chatting like, where'd you get that dress from? Oh my God, I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I'm going online. I'm going to buy that and all. You know what I mean? Like that type of interaction is the inspiration behind this podcast. And that's what I want this to be. Just a wider version of that interaction that you have with girls on a night out that are like so complimentary, and they're always like telling you, bigging you up and telling you how well you look, and like that is Fab Hun. That's exactly what this is. And I would say a lot of people that currently follow me on Array by Amy, and hopefully will follow me on the podcast as well, will have an idea of, you know, the Hun mentality. But for those that don't, and like it's not as big a thing as I'm making it out to be, but for anybody that doesn't really get it, it's like Hun is nearly like a way of life. Like, it's not just a word, it's not just a phrase. It's like being a Hun is, you know, the girliest of the girls, but also like, don't fucking mess with her. Like, don't mess with the Huns, because they'll come after you, like. And it's that type of mindset, mentality, vibe, way of life, that I think a lot of us can actually relate to, and that we shared. You know, we have that bond, we have that Hun bond. So I love that. So that's where Fab Hun came from. And when I say it multiple times a day. If anybody has ever sent me a message on Instagram, you know, about, or sent me a picture of something that they're thinking of getting, 9 times out of 10 I probably would have come back and said Fab Hun. So it just feels so natural, so fit into what I want the podcast to be, so fit into me as a person and the shite that I come out with 24/7. And on what I've just said there, I should put out some like disclaimers, probably not disclaimers, that's a bit serious, like, but some FYIs, and the first one being, I curse a lot when I'm talking. I don't know why, I don't know where it's come from. My family all, I know where it's come from. My family all curse. Like, my great nanny, as much a lady as she is, and I absolutely love and adore the bones off her, she curses from time to time, and I think my whole family is the same. Like, we're all just very, like, you know, loud and honest, and that type of, you know, conversation that we have with each other. Like, it's just, there's always fucks and shits and there's everything in there. So if you're not partial to a curse word, I do apologise, but I'm not going to pare it back. I'm sorry about that. It's just not going to be possible. And one thing that I did want to get across, and I want for people to understand as well, is when I'm chatting about like bashing and all that comes along with it, and when I have guests on and they're chatting about their things, there's going to be a lot of different opinions when it comes to things. But that's exactly what I want for this podcast. I don't want it to be a case that, you know, we're telling you a one size fits all tip, or, you know, it's just because fashion is just not like that. Like, it's very individual. Everybody is gonna have their own point of view, their own style, their own things that they love. And really what I want is for us to like foster a conversation where we can hear all people's different perspectives, but you don't necessarily have to take everything on board, right? You can hear somebody else's perspective and be like, do you know what? That actually really resonates with me. And I never would have thought of it that way. And perfect. But you can also hear somebody's opinion and be like, no, I don't really feel like it's appropriate for me. And that's also perfect. But that's really what I want to get out of it, if that makes sense. I want us first all just to be sharing our stories, sharing our opinions, sharing our styles and our tips and everything, and for it to just be, we'll all just learn from each other, you know what I mean, and just have the crack. Like, I want this podcast to be so lighthearted, because I just think there's so much seriousness in the world, and dressing yourself doesn't have to be serious. Like, it actually just doesn't have to be that serious. We can have a bit of crack with it and have fun with it. But I think, like, for so long there's been all this like conditioning, but I don't even like getting into all of that. I just want us to debunk all of the stupid rules and the, restrictions and stuff like that that's been put on us for years and years, and that we've put on ourselves, quite frankly, because that's just what we do as women, isn't it? But yeah, just want to put that out there, that there's going to be loads of different opinions, loads of different perspectives. Find what resonates with you, and let's just have a bit of crack. Let's have a bit of crack with it, you know what I mean? So yeah, like, that's kind of the disclaimers, really. Disclaimers. And then just kind of what to expect, I suppose. Like, on the podcast, we're going to be talking about all things clothes. So it's going to be that, but there might be a little bit of some side topics, you know what I mean, off the back of that as well. And it's not going to be fitting into one specific box, if you get me. And there's going to be a lot of different things that we're talking about, and as I have guests on, I'm going to want to find out about them and what they're doing, and I want them to tell me about, what they think about fashion, but also what they're doing outside of that too. So it's going to be really fun. I'm really, really excited for it. I want us to chat and just have a bit of crack around the latest trends, and without getting into like too much detail on it, I want us to do like a little weekly topic where we have a look at what the latest trends are, what's coming back in, and just have a bit of fun around it, and see what we want to take on, and what we think is in, and what we want to put in the bin. So that'll be fun. I really want us to share our fashion woes, and this is what I was saying earlier. I don't know what I'm actually going to call that. Fashion woes doesn't seem to really fit, but I want us to share that with each other. I'll share mine, you can share yours, my guests will share theirs, and we'll all just have a bit of a chat around it. Myth busting, as I was saying earlier on, all of these stupid fashion rules and stuff like that, we're just going to fling them out the window, and we're just going to have a bit more crack with it, you know what I mean? We're just going to get having fun when we dress ourselves. And just all general girly chit-chat is really what I want to talk about. Like, I love a girly podcast. I just love a girly podcast. And like, what's more girly than like clothes and shoes and hair and makeup and all? Oh, I'm obsessed. I love it. And it's just not going to be that serious, is what I have written down here in capital letters. Like, this podcast is not that serious. As I said before, I want it to be a bit of crack. Like, I want us to just have fun when we're listening to it, when we're talking, when I want my guests to have fun when they come on, and for us all to just have a bit of a laugh with it. I cannot stress that point enough. I know I've said it about 45 times, but I just want it to be fun. I just want us all to have a bit of crack. I'm like that girl in Mean Girls. I just want us all to be friends and bake a cake full of rainbows and smiles. Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. I'm going to put out weekly episodes, I think, for now. I'm sure we'll see how that goes. I'll be doing this alongside my full-time job, so we'll see how that goes. I'll bore myself into the ground very quickly, watch, and I'll be like, guys, I'm too exhausted, I can't do this. No, I'm only joking. I feel like when you're doing something you love, like, it just doesn't feel like work. Like, I'm currently looking at the time on this recording and it's at half an hour. I'm like, excuse me, I've been talking for half an hour, what do you mean? Oh god, yeah. What's the saying as it goes? Do something that you love and it never feels like work, or something like that. That's definitely not the saying, don't quote me on that. That's definitely not it, but it's something along those lines. And yeah, listen, I might burn the candle at both ends, but it'll be worth it in the end. And what else do I have to tell you? I'll be putting out some like Instagram stories probably. I have my diehard supporters that are on my email list. If you're on my email list, I love you so much, because I just feel like that's a level of support that I really admire, and I love that people, you know, give me the time of day to read an email that I send out. That baffles me. That's crazy, and I'm so appreciative of it. Anybody that sends any sort of message or even likes, comments, anything, like, it's like, it blows my mind. I'm even like stuttering over myself now because I can't find the words. I'm just like, I love it so much. I think it's like such a great thing when you can create a community of people that, you know, share the same interests, and that's the aim, that's the goal, that is the aim of the podcast, and I hope that we can achieve that. And I'm getting all stuttery over my words and everything now, because I'm just like so nervously excited, and I'm thinking about putting this out there, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm actually doing it. But yeah, I'm so excited. So I don't know, as I said earlier on, this is the 7th of January. I don't have a concrete date yet that I'm going to release this episode. But from then on, we'll have weekly episodes. We'll have guests on very soon. And let me know who you want me to talk to, and I'll try and get them on board. And we'll try and have a chat with as many people as we can. And as I said, I really, really, really want your input on the podcast. Like, I have my own opinions on things, and that's all great, but I want to know what yours are. What's your opinion? Like, what are your tips that you would give people, you know, for styling, or that are feeling a bit self-conscious? Like, what would you tell them? You know what I mean? I want to hear from you. And I'll put out like weekly what do you call those things? Question boxes on Instagram, and we'll hear from you. Listen, by all means, if I say something in my podcast that you're like, nah, do you know what? Don't really agree with that, or I think that's a bit factually incorrect, Amy, pull me up on it. Like, I'm not perfect. I don't have all the facts. I'm not an expert in anything, you know what I mean? And I think it would be hard for anybody to be an expert in fashion, full stop, you know, because it is so individual. But by all means, if there's anything that you think that I could be doing better, or that, you know, you don't agree with, let me know, because honestly, I know some people get their back up with things like that, but I actually like to hear constructive criticism as well from people, as well as the positive stuff. So I think it's second to none when it comes to like growth and learning from each other. So yeah, definitely pull me up on it. And I know this podcast is a bit like, this episode, should I say, is more of an intro. I'm going to get into a bit more detail on certain things on the next episode, but I just didn't want for this to be like 45 hours long, so we'll break it up a little bit, and we'll get into more detail on the next episode. And yeah, I hope that kind of gives you a bit of an overview as to what to expect and what we're aiming to do. Like, it's just crazy. It's just mad. The mind boggles. So it does. I'm going to wrap it up, because otherwise I'd just continue rambling for about 3 hours, as I said. But if you got this far in this episode, thank you so much for listening to the end. If you do want to like it, or I don't even know what you do. What do you do on podcasts? Do you subscribe or something, or follow? I don't know what way that works, if it's a subscribe or a follow. I haven't figured it all out yet, to be honest, as you can tell. So whatever you see on the screen, if you want to show a bit of support, you feel free to do that. And thank you so much if you do. And yeah, enjoy. Thanks so much again. Love yous loads and loads.